Hello, folks, and welcome back yet again to the Bibbs Corner podcast. I am your host, as always, Mike Bibbins. You can find me on Twitter at Bibbs Corner. And this is episode 51 of the podcast and part 4 of the greatest of all time NBA GOAT series. And before we get into it, I have to mention, that we found out yesterday that the NBA is coming back quickly. Looking at a December 22nd start for the season. They're talking about trying to get free agency as close to the draft as possible. We already know the draft is November 18th, so at the time of this recording, about 11 days away. So a lot is about to happen here in the next month and a half with regard to basketball. So it feels like I haven't recorded in years since it's been a week. But, once the draft and free agency and, preseason and the regular season, I think we're only getting 3 preseason games. I'm going to be recording a lot. So you will get your flurry of Bibbs Corner content. And I'm going to shift it to season 2 of the podcast based on the fact that it's the new NBA season. So you may notice that depending on where you're getting the podcast content. In the meantime, it has been very important for me to finish the GOAT series before the new season began. So right on schedule, getting out this top 10. And as I was getting the information compiled for the top 10, I realized that there was a lot to say about these guys that are remaining on the list. It started to get longer at the higher we got up on the list. If you hadn't noticed, last episode ran an hour and a half, and that definitely wasn't the plan. But if I did all 10 guys together, it would probably run about 2 hours, if I'm being honest, as I've written it right now. So I'm going to try to dial it back and split the top 10 into 2 episodes. No, I'm not going to make you wait another week. You'll get the 10 through 6 on this one, and then I was going to say I'll try, but I promise to have the top 5 out by Sunday. I'd rather give it to you in 2 episodes than make you look at a 2-hour episode on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you're listening. So it makes more sense to me to split it up, to try to see if I can get them both under an hour. Because that's easier to look at. I try not to make these long because I don't like sitting down to endure an hour and a half long podcast myself. So I understand. As far as the written pieces, again, the top are 52 through 41. And 40 down to 31 are already on the website. And this weekend, I will get out all the ones 30 down to 21 and then 20 down to 11, which are also already in audio format prior to the recording of this episode. So you'll definitely get those. I think those are easier to share and talk about and discuss. So as those come out, please contact me, hit me up if you see any surprises or you have any complaints. Or you found something new and interesting about these guys, because there's a lot of fun images. If you watch some of the video, some of the older guys especially, it's really interesting to watch. I had to post like a full game for one of the guys from the 40s. And, I initially tried to watch it to see if I could find him, and then I ended up just kind of hypnotized by it. So definitely take your time, go through those, enjoy, and I'm definitely having fun with this. I'm ready to get these out, and I've made you guys wait long enough. So we're going to take a quick break, and I'll be back with numbers 10 through 6 in our top 10. The first 5, the first half of that top 10. Some huge names coming, of course, and I hope you guys continue to enjoy.
2020's motivation, I'm gunning for I'm in a league by myself, carry this weight like I own it, they see my picture, try to stone it, yo, but gotta keep it rolling, cause opportunity was calling, and I know these brothers know it though, a league by myself, yeah, cause this is GOAT talk, yeah, hold on, this that GOAT talk. Trying to understand how success is classified.
Okay, so before we before we get into the fun stuff here, I have to bring it up. I was talking to my guy Josh about this top 10 and the anticipation for it, and apparently he tried to guess who the top 10 were on the list based on who's been named already and who I guess he's expecting to hear and hasn't heard yet. And he gave me his list of 10. He gave them to me in the order he thinks that they're in. And just to kind of tell y'all guys how this is going to go, like if you are playing along at home, if you want to stop right now, pause it and try to guess yourself, feel free to do so. He said he didn't use like the formula to try to go through stats and figure it out. He just kind of guessed off of his mind, basically. So he gave me 10 names. He got 9 out of 10 names correct. So I'm sure he's going to be in for a surprise when he doesn't hear that 10th name. And then he asked me how close he was on the order, and he only had one guy in the correct place. So these results, again, I have no complaints about how it came out. It is somewhat interesting where a couple of these guys ended up. But I have no complaints. I'm very excited to get this out to you, see how you feel about it, and we'll go from there. So without further ado, number 10 on our GOAT list, the 10th greatest player of all time, is none other than Tim Duncan, the big fundamental. Now, you may be wondering, why is Tim Duncan here? How'd he beat out Kobe, Karl Malone, Shaq? And I'm going to tell you, and you'll see when the written pieces come out, that cluster near there, they're very close. So there are like big jumps in the list between certain players. The top 4 kind of separate themselves. Then there's like a cluster there from 5 to 8. And then from 9 through 14. So like number 9, who's you're going to get in a minute, through Bob Pettit, are within like 80 points of each other. So it's or within 100 points of each other, I guess. So it's very close. It's very close. Actually, number 8 through, I'm looking at the spreadsheet wrong. Number 8 through 14 are tight. Like that's a very tight cluster of people there. So this is close. Don't think of it as they're just that much better. This is how it worked out. So number 10 is Tim Duncan, the big fundamental, or Timmy. And I didn't know Timmy was like an official nickname, but apparently it was. That's what I call him. 6'11", center and power forward. He played both positions over the course of his career out of St. Croix, the U.S. Virgin Islands. Played his college ball at Wake Forest. Played in the NBA from 1997 through 2016. Currently an assistant coach with the San Antonio Spurs. His accolades: he's a Hall of Famer, a 15-time All-Star, 1998 Rookie of the Year, 10-time All-NBA First Team, 3-time All-NBA Second Team, 2-time All-NBA Third Team, 8-time All-Defensive First Team, 7-time All-Defensive Second Team, 2-time MVP in 2002 and 2003, and 3-time Finals MVP in 1999, 2003, and 2005. When I had to hand out the additional accolades, including the Finals runner-up, he did win one of those in 2013 as the best player on the Finals loser. He finished his career with 5 rings, starting at the beginning of his career in 1999, then 2003, 2005, 2007, and then finally 2014. So spread out 15 years between his first and last title. Never won 2 in a row, which is interesting when you think about it. They were always near the top, but didn't do it back to back to where you can really call them that dominant, I guess. One of the most consistent, or his claim to fame, I guess, is that he's one of the most consistent players in NBA history. Most people say he's boring, but he definitely was great. And of course, the trademark bank shot from young Timothy. His story. And this is where I start to get a little bit more in depth. And this Tim Duncan's isn't even the longest I go through. Like, I'm going with the childhood. I'm bringing it all in. So Duncan was the youngest of 4 kids. His 2 older sisters were great swimmers, with one competing in the Olympics in 1988. He actually wanted to follow in their footsteps before fate intervened, and the only Olympic-sized pool in St. Croix was destroyed by a hurricane. This forced Timmy to have to practice in the ocean, and his fear of sharks made him lose his passion for the sports. His mother died not long after that due to breast cancer, and she had made her children promise that they would go to college and get a degree, which played into Duncan refusing to leave school early for the NBA later in his life. He picked up a basketball instead in the 9th grade and was initially goofy, but by his senior year, he was on many schools' radars. Jerry West thought he could be the number 1 pick in the draft after his sophomore year at Wake Forest in 1995, but Tim Duncan had no interest. As I mentioned, he planned to get his degree to fulfill a promise to his mom. The NBA actually was planning to put in a rookie salary cap starting in 1996, so Duncan could have gotten out ahead of that and gotten paid on his rookie deal, but he did not care. The year before he joined the Spurs, they were actually 20-62 because of a bunch of injuries that the team suffered. As soon as he got there, he did pair with David Robinson to form the Twin Towers on the back end of Robinson's career. He pulled down 22 boards on Dennis Rodman his rookie year, and after he played head-to-head against Charles Barkley said, "I have seen the future," and he wears the number 21. He won Rookie of the Month every month that year. He was an All-Star, All-NBA first team, and All-Defensive second team, again, all his rookie year. There were disappointments along the way during his career, but the Spurs always remained a threat throughout the next 15 years. Fun facts about young Timothy. And again, his is probably the shortest of everybody we're going to talk about in these next couple episodes. His number 21 is retired by the Spurs and Wake Forest. He finished his career 6th in total playoff points. He earned his degree in psychology, which is said to have affected how he rarely showed emotion on the court, noting that he didn't want his opponents to see him get too high or too low, so they could not try to get into his head or read into the shifts in his emotions. He is the only player to be named to the All-NBA and All-Defensive teams in each of his first 13 seasons. Officially, only Jordan and LeBron have more Finals MVP awards. He is tied with... Oops, I went ahead too far. He is tied with Shaq and Magic Johnson with 3. Of course, when I had to go hand out Finals MVPs for other people, Moses Malone, Neil Johnston, Kareem, Bill Russell, George Mikan, and the fact that all these guys were either in the ABA when they won some Finals MVPs or they predated the award. They all had 3 after I did my calculations. So, but officially tied with Shaq and Magic with 3. Only Jordan and LeBron have more. Tim Duncan is also the oldest player in NBA history to put up a 20-20 game. And he is one of 2 players to win titles in 3 different decades. Moving ahead on our list, we get to number 9. And this is where the list starts to get really, really fun. Number 9 on our list is a guy you've likely been waiting for, perhaps not this low. But number 9 is Larry Bird. Nicknames, Larry Legend, the Hick from French Lick, the Great White Hope. Larry Bird was a 6'9" power forward and small forward out of West Baden, Indiana, who played his high school ball, of course, in French Lick. He went to college at Indiana State, playing in the NBA from 1979 through 1992. He's currently retired from the game and front office and is enjoying said retirement. He played his entire career with the Boston Celtics. His accolades: he is a Hall of Famer, a 12-time All-Star, the 1980 Rookie of the Year, 9-time All-NBA First Team, 1 All-NBA Second Team, 3-time All-Defensive Second Team, 3-time MVP from 1984 through 1986, 2-time Finals MVP in 1984 and 1986. And when I did my additional calculations, he did a good bit of work there as well. He earned 2/3 of a Defensive Player of the Year share. He got a half credit in 1981 and 1/6 of a credit in 1980. He got half of a Finals runner-up MVP in 1987 as well. And he did win 3 rings over the course of his career. 1 in 1981, 1 in 1984, and 1 in 1986. His claim to fame is he is one of the most clutch big game performers in NBA history. He's also a legendary trash talker and one of the best shooters in NBA history. His story, and he is the first one that's going to get long, but I hope you enjoy it. Larry Bird grew up in a big family. He had 4 brothers and a sister. His mom worked 2 jobs to support the family, and Bird says that growing up poor still motivates him to this day. When Bird was in high school, his parents divorced, and his dad committed suicide a year later. He used basketball as an escape. Now, this is something I didn't know about Bird. After high school, he initially did enroll at IU, and that's University of Indiana, but he dropped out after less than a month due to culture shock, which is hilarious when you think about it. He went home and went to a local school and joined the workforce for a year before enrolling at Indiana State. There, he took them to their first NCAA tournament with a 33-0 record. He ran into Magic Johnson in the championship game. Of course, Magic Johnson was with Michigan State, and Michigan State did win that game, and that rivalry, of course, would carry on to the NBA. Bird was actually drafted by the Celtics in the 1978 draft, but elected to go back to school for his senior year. So when he and Magic met, he had already known he was a Celtic because that playoff game was his senior year. Or that finals game was his senior year. His junior year, he had already been drafted by the Celtics. So that last year when he went to the finals, he and was undefeated, he already was secured on an NBA roster. Red Auerbach initially said he was going to pay Bird the lowest salary of any player on the roster. When he arrived, but Bird's agent said that he would enter the 79 draft if Red was planning to do that, where he would have probably been a higher draft pick. Red Auerbach backed down and made him the highest paid rookie of all time at that point with a 5-year, $3.25 million deal. The Bird collegiate rule came into effect at that point, and NBA teams were no longer allowed to draft players before they were ready to sign. His rookie year, the Celtics improved their win total by 32 games and won the East. They made it to the conference finals his first 4 seasons, winning the title in his second year but losing the other 3. The next 2 years, they met the Lakers and Magic Johnson in the finals, winning the first and losing the second. The next offseason, Bird hurt his back shoveling his mother's driveway, and this would bother him for the rest of his career. However, the 85-86 Celtics, after acquiring Bill Walton, who had been injured a lot in his career and most thought he was a huge risk, it worked out for the Celtics, and that team is regarded as one of the greatest teams in NBA history. Some will argue it is the greatest team in NBA history. Again, that's the 85-86 Celtics. Bird won his 3rd straight MVP that year and closed out the finals with a triple-double. nearly averaging a triple-double for the series. I believe he missed it by 0.3 assists and half a rebound. The following season, Bird faced Magic one more time in the finals and lost. He ended up losing his head-to-head championship matches with Magic by only winning one against him and losing 3 against him, including their college matchup, of course. So 2-1 was Magic against Bird in the NBA Finals, and then 1-0 in college. Some additional fun facts about Larry Bird. He is of Irish, Scottish, and Native American on both sides of his family descent. He played in one baseball game at Indiana State and was 1 for 2 with 2 RBIs. His number 33 is retired by Boston and Indiana State. He won the NBA's three-point contest 3 times. He's a 2-time 50-40-90 club member. The first to do it. The 3-ball came into the NBA the year he joined the league, conveniently. Although, again, it was a novelty at that time, and so not many people shot it. He was one of the first ones to really start stretching the floor there in the NBA. He is 32nd all-time in playoff points per game, 17th all-time in career points per game, and 13th all-time in career total playoff points. He is the only player to win 3 straight MVPs besides Wilt and Bill Russell. Of course, George Mikan and Neil Johnston did that officially if you go look at the added awards that I had. Bird finished second in MVP voting 4 times as well, by the way. When Bird took over as a coach, he promised to coach no more than 3 years. And this was with the Pacers, of course, at the end of the 90s, into 2000. So when he took over as a head coach, he promised to coach no more than 3 years. That first year with Indiana, he pushed Jordan's Bulls to 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals in 98. He won the division in 1999 and 2000. And he took the team to the finals in the year 2000 and promptly retired as promised. He was the NBA Coach of the Year in 1998 as well. He joined the Pacers front office in 2003 and was named NBA Executive of the Year in 2012. He's the only person to win MVP of the league, to win Coach of the Year, and win Executive of the Year as well. And that is it for the Birdman. Moving forward, and fittingly, number 8 on our list is none other than Earvin Magic Johnson. And it actually is very interesting how close those two came out in GOAT points. And I'll even let you know that Magic moved ahead of Larry Bird after a late change that was made in the list, which was interesting to me as well. So, nickname, of course, is Magic, a 6'9" point guard / shooting guard out of Lansing, Michigan. Went to college at Michigan State, played in the NBA from 1979 through 1996. Technically, though, he missed 4 seasons from 1991 through 1995. Currently stepped away from the game recently, but does enjoy watching and tweeting about it with the most elaborate and deep basketball analysis that you can find on Twitter. Definitely a must follow. But he's also a successful businessman. He did play his entire career with the Lakers, and among his accolades are: he's a Hall of Famer, a 12-time All-Star, 4-time assist champion, 2-time steals champ, 9-time All-NBA first team, 1-time All-NBA second, 3-time MVP in 87, 89, and 90, 3-time Finals MVP in 80, 82, and 87. And among his accolades that I had to give him, he earned 2 Finals runner-up MVP awards, which again is what put him over the top of Bird when I made that late adjustment. He did end his career with 5 rings in 1980, 1982, 1985, 1987, and 88. the 80s belonged to Bird and Magic. His claim to fame, he is considered the greatest point guard of all time by most, and that is confirmed by this list as well. So I don't feel like I gave anything away there. Maybe I did. You may have already figured out what you want to complain about. Anyway, his story. And I do want to open this up because I'm reading this on half a screen and I don't know why. Magic's father worked for GM while also doing 2 other jobs to support the family. His mom was a janitor. He had 6 siblings and 3 half-siblings. He says he gets his work ethic from his parents. He was bused into a predominantly white school for high school, though he had wanted to go to the all-black school, which was closer to his house and had a good basketball team. His brother had been kicked off the team at the white school, and after situations where his white teammates refused to pass him the ball, Magic nearly left the team. The coach intervened, though, and Magic found a way to make it work. He got the nickname Magic his sophomore year after a 36-point, 18-rebound, 16-assist game. Magic went to college wanting to be a sports commentator. He met a senior Larry Bird in the title game when he was a sophomore, and that game actually was the most watched college basketball game ever. He came out of the draft and was drafted first overall. He was paired with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who at that point had never won a ring, actually. After his rookie year that saw him named an all-star starter, Magic stepped up and played center in Game 6 of the finals after Kareem went down, famously scoring 42 points with 15 boards and 7 assists. He became the only rookie to ever win Finals MVP. After his second year, he signed a 25-year, $25 million contract, which at the time was the highest-paying contract in sports history. He went on to see 8 more finals along the way, winning 4 of those, losing 1 after getting injured in Game 2 of the series, and losing the other 3 straight up. The year after losing to the Bulls in the finals in 91, Johnson found out during a physical that November that he had HIV. He was forced to retire and became very outspoken about how he contracted the disease. At the time, it was thought to be a disease that only affected homosexuals, and he wanted to dispel that myth. He came back that year after being voted into the All-Star game, and he actually put up 25 points, 9 assists, and 5 rebounds, and won the game's MVP award. But he retired again immediately after, with players like Karl Malone, for example, speaking out about not thinking he should be playing with the virus. Before returning to the league 4 years later in 1996 and playing 32 games. At that point, he was 36 years old. He later said that knowing what he knows now about the disease or virus, he wished he had never retired. But at the time, he was worried about hurting the game by being there with the stigma that was around HIV at the time. Some interesting stuff to add about Magic. His mom actually thought the nickname Magic was sacrilegious. One of 3 players to score 700 points, 700 rebounds, and 700 assists in a season. He is 16th in total playoff points all time and first all time in career assists per game at 11.2. His number 32 is retired by the Lakers, and his number 33 is retired by Michigan State. He coached the Lakers in the 93-94 season, and his coaching contract had no salary since he technically still was under his player contract. He actually ended up only coaching 16 games, and the team went 5-11 during those 16 games. He is a 5-time champion as an executive during the Kobe years from 2002 to 2002, of course, and then again in 2009-10. So all the Kobe rings, Magic was an exec for those years. He's actually a part owner of the LA Sparks and the Los Angeles Dodgers, who have both won rings since he became an owner. He actually won a Grammy for Best Spoken Word Album in 1993. He has a record for the most assists in a playoff game with 24, most assists in a finals game with 21. He's the only player to average 12 assists in a final series, which he did 6 times. And his 138 triple-doubles is second only to the Big O. And he is the only player with multiple finals triple-doubles in closeout games, which seems like a very specific stat and exclusive. But yeah, it's going to be a hard one to top for pretty much anybody. LeBron's the only one I could think that would be close to it as far as the number of opportunities and the style of play. So now that we've concluded Bird at 9 and Magic at 8, I did want to add some additional context to those two players. Magic and Bird came into the NBA after a decade of declining interest in the league and bad ratings. It is said that the pair saved the league from bankruptcy. They became good friends in 1984 while shooting a Converse commercial about their rivalry. And they were pretty much perfect for the league. You had a white guy and a black guy. You had the flash of LA and the blue-collar grit of Boston. You had the city boy with Magic and the country boy with Bird. Of course, the Lakers and Celtics both had storied histories already. It really couldn't have been more perfect for the league. Interestingly enough, both did have their careers cut short prematurely as well. Bird because of his back and Magic due to HIV. But for that decade in the 80s, again, when the league was declining and on its way to bankruptcy, they saved the league, and, the league has been flourishing since. So the league owes a lot to those two guys. And we do as fans, of course. And we'll move forward after a quick break.
2020's motivation, I'm gunning for I'm in a league by myself. Carry this weight like I own it. They see my picture, try to stone it, yo, but gotta keep it rolling. Cause opportunity was calling. And I know these brothers know it though, a league by myself. Yeah. Cause this is GOAT talk. Hold on, this that GOAT talk. I'm trying to understand how success is classified.
Okay, so we're going to close this episode out with number 7 and number 6, and I'm pretty happy with where we're at on time. This is going to end up around 50 or so minutes, maybe 55. We'll see how long they go. But number 7 on our list is a guy who dramatically changed the game, much like number 6 ended up doing later, and we'll get into that as we go. But number 7 on our list is none other than George Mikan. Nicknames Mr. Basketball, Big Mike, and the Monster. Mikan was a 6'10 center from Joliet, Illinois, played his college ball at DePaul, and only played from 1948 through 1956. Again, remember that rebounds were not kept as a stat in his first 2 years, and he actually retired during the 1954-55 season before coming back in 1956. So his career was technically 9 years, -1, so 8, and then rebounds not kept for the first 2, but he's not close enough to number 6 for that to be a factor. He actually died in 2005 at the age of 80, and he played his entire career with the Minneapolis Lakers. Mikan is a Hall of Famer, a 4-time All-Star, the 3-time scoring champ from 49 through 51. 1952, he was a scoring champ as well, but it's unofficial technically because the award was given by total points instead of points per game like it is now. But I gave it to him anyway. He's the 1953 rebound champ and a 6-time All-BAA/NBA first team selection. Now, if you're wondering how he ended up number 7 on the list with those meager accomplishments, when I did my adjustments, he earned a lot more. So he did earn 6 all-defensive first-team selections because, again, he played before that was a thing. He earned 4 Defensive Player of the Years, which matches the highest total amount won by any player in the after the award was given. So I think Mutombo and Ben Wallace are the 2 that have earned 4. He also earned 5 Finals MVPs when the calculations were done by the individual who did those. You can check that out on the added awards. And he won regular season MVP in 49, 50, and 51. Now, initially when I was doing again, that was one of those late adjustments. He's the guy that ended up jumping. He was originally around 14, if I'm not mistaken. But after I realized that the MVP had not been awarded for the first 9 years of the NBA, I had to go back and award MVPs to those first guys in those first 9 years. I started out from the most recent year, which I believe was 1955, and was working my way back. And initially I used PER, but I realized PER was only available those last 4 years. And when I did that, Mikan had won 3 of those MVPs. He actually lost all 3 of those MVPs when I switched from PER to win shares, which he would have had 6 MVPs, which would have moved him up to, I believe, 3rd or 4th on the list, if I'm not mistaken. So once I adjusted for win shares, he did only end up winning MVP for 1949, 50, and 51. And that's why he landed number 7 on our list. He has 5 rings in 6 or 7 seasons, depending on how you look at it. 1949, 19 to 50, and then 52 through 54 had a three-peat. His claim to fame: he is considered to be the pioneer of the modern age of basketball. He was the first real center. His ambidextrous hook shot is emulated with the Mikan drill. He also shot his free throws underhanded. He was the first player inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame in 1959. He was so dominant that the league widened the lane from 6 feet to 12 feet, which is called the Mikan rule. He is also... What did I just do? Try that again. He's also considered one of the reasons the shot clock was introduced, because his dominance around the basket in college led to teams basically just holding the ball for long stretches of time, which was very boring. So that's part of why the shot clock came along. And he also... his dominance in college around the basket, and I had gotten ahead of myself when I started that sentence a minute ago. His dominance in college around the basket led to the outlawing of defensive goaltending, because he would just jump up and smack the ball out of the air. He ushered in the era of the big man. He also, and again, it's a long claim to fame, but he also, ironically, as one of the founders of the ABA and its first commissioner, he's responsible for the three-point line, because the three-point line was started by the ABA, and that was his suggestion to include it. Of course, after the ABA and NBA merged, the three-point line was introduced to the NBA 3 years later. He's also a big part of why the Timberwolves exist. He was one of the main people pushing to get a franchise in Minnesota after the Lakers had moved to Minneapolis. And he was the one who designed the ABA ball, that red, white, and blue ball that we now see as the money ball in the three-point contest. So Mikan's impact went beyond the court. So let's get into his story. And Mikan's one of my favorite players of all time, so this is where I started really going deep on these player stories. So though he was born in Illinois, his mother was Croatian and his father was Lithuanian. As a kid, he shattered one of his knees so badly that he was bedridden for a year and a half. He initially was going to be a priest and had no idea basketball would be a thing. At the time that he was coming out, tall people were thought to be too awkward to be athletes. But the DePaul coach was a visionary and brought him onto the team and transformed him from a shy, awkward kid to a monster. His coach made him punch a speed bag, take dancing lessons, and jump rope to transform both his mind and his body. He was huge, he was intimidating, and he would commit a ton of hard fouls to impose his physical presence on the game. At the time, since tall people were chased away from basketball, they were stunned by his ability to smack shots away from the hoop. And of course, we know that now as goaltending, but before him, it was never even thought to be something that they would have to worry about because, again, it had to be small, athletic soccer player looking dudes probably. They'd never even considered a 6'10 guy being out there, being able to jump above the rim. So again, of course, the rule was changed to outlaw defensive goaltending. His first year with the Lakers was actually in the NBL, which, if you recall throughout the series, the NBL was a league that played alongside the BAA, which predated the NBA, and those two leagues merged to form the NBA later. So in his year with the Lakers, when they were an NBL team, he actually won the MVP, but those records and stats aren't kept with the NBA records. The team moved to the BAA, which is tracked with the NBA the year after he won that MVP award. Which was his first year in that league too, by the way. In the 1951 season, the Pistons went up 19-18 on his Lakers and spent the rest of the game passing the ball to keep it away from him. With no shot clock in place, this became the lowest scoring game in NBA history. Again, 19-18. Mikan had 15 of the 18 points, which was 83% of the team's points and is still the all-time record, which a weird way to get that record, but he got it. 4 years later, in 1955, the shot clock would be introduced. At the start of the 1951-52 season, the league widened the lane, like I mentioned, and Mikan, after leading the league in scoring in his first 3 seasons, saw his scoring drop noticeably. He was still great, but it clearly affected him. His scoring average went down from 28 to 23 the year that they made that change, and then it dropped to 20 the following year. His field goal percentage dropped from 42.8% to 38.5% that first year. He retired young, partly due to injuries, but also because he wanted to be with his family. He died in 2015 after a long struggle with diabetes that had caused the lower half of one of his legs to be removed in his later years. His death brought attention to the financial struggles of early NBA players because of a lawsuit he had against the NBA for the meager pensions older players received. Shaq actually paid for his funeral. And Bob Cousy honored him by saying that he single-handedly made the league credible and popular. And that 2005 final series was dedicated in his honor. Additional fun facts about Mikan. He played for the Chicago American Gears. He won 2 NBL titles in 1947 and 1948, but again, those stats are not kept with the NBA stats. He was a 2-time NBL first-team recipient and the NBL MVP and scoring champ in 1948, as I mentioned. His number 99 is retired by DePaul and quote-unquote honored by the Lakers. He's 27th all-time in career points per game, 30th all-time in playoff points per game. He was the first player to score 10,000 points in the NBA. The first 6 games of the 1952 finals between the Lakers and Knicks had to be played at side arenas because both teams' arenas were booked, which is completely unimaginable in today's NBA. The year that the Lakers lost in the finals, Mikan had actually broken his leg. They taped it together with a plate, and he kept playing, but he was clearly not 100%. So that was the one time, technically, that he lost in his career. He was playing with a broken leg that was literally taped together. He initially retired at the age of 30, but came back halfway through the season 2 years later, but was a shell of himself at that point. which again is why I don't really count that season against him as far as not winning. He is the highest ranked player on the list to never officially win an MVP award, though the MVP awards I gave him are what got him where he is. And finally, to conclude episode 51 and part 4 of our GOAT series, we end with number 6 on our list. A man whose legend is so large that some still to this day say that he didn't exist. Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt the Stilt or the Big Dipper. Wilt was a 7'1" center out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He played his college ball at Kansas, playing pro ball from 1959 through 1974. He did pass away in 1999. The teams he played for were the Philadelphia Warriors, the San Francisco Warriors, the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Los Angeles Lakers. His accolades: he is a Hall of Famer, a 13-time All-Star, the 1960 Rookie of the Year, a 7-time scoring champion from 1960 through 66, an 11-time rebounding champion, the 1968 assist champion, a 7-time All-NBA first team selection, 3-time All-NBA second team, 2-time All-Defensive first team, the 1972 MVP of the finals, a 4-time regular season MVP in 1960, then taking a huge leap to 1966, 67, and 68, where he did 3 in a row. When I gave additional accolades, he was a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. He earned 8 additional All-Defensive first teams and 1 All-Defensive second team. He did win 2 rings in his career, one in 1967 with the 76ers, and one in 1972 with the Lakers. His claims to fame, and we really could spend all day on it, but the key things are his 100-point game, of course, and then maybe the fact that he's the most impressive athletic specimen, according to some. He had a signature move as well called the Dipper, where he would fake a hook shot and then come underneath the shot blocker's hand to do a finger roll to lay the ball in. He also had a trademark fadeaway jump shot. His story. Although Wilt grew to be larger than life, he was a frail kid, and he actually almost died of pneumonia when he was very young. He missed a full year of school due to pneumonia, or due to that illness, I guess. He called basketball a game for sissies when he was a kid, and he was a track and field star. He only chose to start playing basketball because it was king in Philly, and of course he had to be where the people were. Red Auerbach actually found him as a junior in high school and had him play against Kansas University, or the University of Kansas's best player, the guy who had just won Most Outstanding Player in the 1953 NCAA tournament. Red Auerbach had him play Wilt one-on-one, as again, Wilt was a junior in high school, and Wilt beat him 25-10, and made that guy decide against going pro. He said, if there's kids like this in high school, then I'm probably not good enough. Red Auerbach was a slick old man, and he actually tried to get Wilt to go to a school near Boston so that he could select him as a territorial pick. Now, I have to break this down. I feel like I've mentioned it on other ones. I didn't really break it down. So, back in the early days before 1966, teams could forfeit their first-round pick to take a kid who was popular and from a school within a 50-mile radius of their team. This actually happened 23 times during the 20-year span that it was effective, and 12 of the guys that were selected this way became Hall of Famers. Several of them are on this list, but I did not want to go over that because we're focusing on Wilt, and I wrote a lot about Wilt as it is. Wilt actually did play some pro ball under the name George Marcus when he was 16 and 17. There's some stories about that, some newspapers that covered it. And, of course, he had to use a fake name because he would have messed up his eligibility. When it was time for him to go to college, teams offered him movie deals. Some offered him diamonds, and some even offered him a coaching position to try to bribe him to join their schools. He ended up choosing Kansas because he wanted to try something different. He grew up in the city. He wanted to try something a little more rural. But he obviously didn't want to go to the South because of segregation. He said later that his triple overtime loss in the NCAA finals to North Carolina was the most painful loss of his career. You can look up the details on how that game went, and a lot of it was due to how teams played him, which also became a factor in what he did next. Teams would often just hold the ball and keep it away from him for minutes at a time because there was no shot clock, and this actually prompted him to leave college after his junior year. He wrote a story about leaving college and sold it for $10,000, which was actually more than 1 year NBA salary at the time. Since he was only 3 years removed from high school, when at that time you had to be 4 years removed to go to the NBA, he spent that next year with the Globetrotters, where he made $50,000, which again, the $10,000 was more than 1 year's NBA salary. So now he just made $60,000 between writing his story and the $50,000 he got for playing with the Globetrotters during his year where he waited to go to the NBA, which is ridiculous when you think about it. One of the skits that he did with the Globetrotters had him picking up a 210-pound teammate off of a laying down position and throwing him into the air like a doll, just to kind of tell you how strong he was. The next year, Wilt signed for $30,000 as a rookie with the Philadelphia Warriors, becoming the highest paid player in the league. His first game, he had 43 points and 28 boards. His third game, he had 41 points and 40 boards. His rookie year, he averaged 37.6 points and 27 rebounds per game and broke 8 records. However, after being abused in the playoffs, and I do mean abused, he was double and triple teamed the entire season as well, and he was being mocked all throughout different arenas as a freak of nature. Wilt actually considered retiring from the NBA after his rookie year. In the playoffs, Tom Heinsohn, who played for the Celtics and was one of the main guys who Red Auerbach had beating on Wilt Chamberlain, Wilt actually ended up punching him and hurting his hand in Game 3 of the series where they played the Celtics. Tom Heinsohn admitted that they were beating him up. To keep Wilt from retiring after his rookie year, the Warriors increased his salary from $30,000, which again was already the highest in the league. They increased it to $65,000 to get him to stay. After the Warriors moved to San Francisco from Philly and had a few disappointing seasons, Wilt was traded back to Philly and the 76ers, who had now been moved from, they were the Washington Nationals. The Nationals moved to Philly, became the 76ers, and then the San Francisco Warriors traded him back to Philly, his hometown. The Warriors owner said that the local fans, before they traded him back to the 76ers in Philly, the Warriors fans in San Francisco would actually come to the arena to watch Wilt lose, and they hated him. After losing in the 1965 final to the Celtics, the infamous game where John Havlicek stole the ball, which I mentioned earlier, and by the way, Dolph Schayes, who was also on this list, was Wilt's coach at the time. That was when the league started to look at Wilt as a loser. Again, after that 1965 finals game where Havlicek stole the ball at the end of the game. When he was in his time in Philly, Wilt would often sleep in, and he preferred to live in New York in an apartment and commute to Philadelphia from New York, which made Coach Schayes schedule their trainings for 4 p.m. to accommodate him, even though his teammates wanted to practice early so they could spend time with their families. Even in the Eastern Conference Finals, he skipped practices, and his teammates hated him for it, though the coach made excuses for him. The next year was the 66-67 season, and Dolph Schayes was replaced by Alex Hannum. Wilt and Alex Hannum actually nearly came to blows several times and had to be separated by the team. But Wilt actually grew to respect him from never backing down. He got Wilt to focus less on scoring and more on defense. And that year, Wilt only averaged 24 points per game. He still had 24 rebounds per game as well. He also averaged 7.8 assists per game that year and was shot a record-breaking 68.3% from the field. And again, this was because he had switched his focus to being more of a defensive guy and not trying to score every single time down the court. The team actually went 68-13 that year, winning 46 of their first 50 games. He also became a better teammate, doing things for his teammates, buying food on the road, all that good stuff. They beat the Celtics 4-1 in the Eastern Conference Finals that year, which ended the Celtics' 8 straight year title streak. They then went to the finals where they played Rick Barry, who was the leading scorer in the league that year with 35.6 points per game. They met Rick Barry's Warriors, and they beat them. Some consider that Philadelphia 76ers team the greatest team of all time. The next year was the 1967-68 season. And in the playoffs, in the Eastern Conference Final, of course, the 76ers of Wilt met the Celtics of Bill Russell again. And Martin Luther King was actually assassinated right before that series started. Some actually called for that series to be canceled, but it was not. Game 1 of the series was described by most as devoid of emotion, but the Celtics did win that game. If you don't know the history, after MLK was assassinated, there were riots all across the nation. People were upset, obviously. And Wilt actually told the rioters that Martin Luther King wouldn't approve. This led into like a huge segment where they talk about how Kareem considered Wilt a race traitor. Wilt was also a huge Nixon supporter and actually attended Martin Luther King's funeral with Nixon. There's a lot of other stuff about that whole Kareem thinking Wilt was a race traitor thing, but I don't want to get into that right now. Anyway, that year, the 76ers became the first team to blow a 3-1 lead in a playoff series because they did go up 3-1. And the Celtics came back and took the series. Wilt actually only had 14 points in Game 7 and did not take a shot in the second half of that game. After that season, Wilt asked for a trade, and there was a lot of speculation around why. He basically did say that he felt like he was too big for Philly at that point. There was one theory about him wanting to be able to date white women, and he couldn't do that in Philly, but could do it in LA due to the times. Regardless, the next year with the Lakers, after he was traded, they had Jerry West, Wilt, and Elgin Baylor. They went to the finals where they met none other than the Celtics, of course. The Lakers felt like they had it in the bag, and the owner put a bunch of balloons in the rafters. I may have mentioned this earlier when I was talking about Jerry West or one of the Celtics guys, but the Lakers owner put a bunch of balloons in the rafters, which was said to have fueled the Celtics. We'll get into that later, by the way. Wilt actually got hurt late in what was a close game, although the Lakers were losing, and did not play the final 6 minutes. When the Lakers came back and it looked like they were going to win, Wilt tried to get back into the game, but the coach decided to stick with the guys that had led the comeback. Wilt was criticized by the public, and even Bill Russell said he felt like Wilt was playing up the injury, said that any injury short of a broken leg or a broken back was not enough. And again, Wilt Chamberlain was a loser. He didn't say that. That's how people felt. The next year, the Lakers got back to the finals, this time against the Knicks, and that was the infamous game where Willis Reed hobbled out of the tunnel, and yet again, Wilt Chamberlain was a loser. After that year, he signed with the San Diego Conquistadores. I'm sorry, they won the 72 finals. But after that year, he signed with the ABA San Diego Conquistadors as a player coach for the 1973-1974 season. But the Lakers sued, and he never actually got to play a game. Because of that, he also barely coached, and he retired from the game after that year. As far as Wilt's legend, he inspired several rule changes, including the widening of the lane from 12 feet, which again, George Mikan got it widened from 6 to 12 feet. They widened it again to 16 feet because of Wilt. He's also the reason offensive basket interference became illegal, or goaltending, I should say, became illegal. So again, Mikan got defensive goaltending illegal. Wilt got offensive goaltending illegal. He's also the reason you cannot inbound the basketball over the backboard, which you can imagine what was happening there. So to talk about Wilt, we probably have to talk about how he's criticized for only winning 2 rings throughout his career. A lot of people call him selfish. And Russell versus Wilt. So Wilt actually lost 7 times out of the 8 times he faced Bill Russell. In the playoffs, he was actually 20-29 against him, which doesn't sound that bad, but it was more so just the fact that Bill Russell was closing out those series more effectively. In the regular season, Wilt won 37 games to Bill Russell's 57 as well. Russell won all 4 of the Game 7s they played against each other, but the total margin of victory in those Game 7 was 9 points, which is ridiculous. That's 2 3-points a game, maybe 1 here and there. Statistically, Wilt averaged 30 points and 28 boards against Russell in the regular season, compared to Russell's 14 points and 23 boards, and Wilt averaged 25.7 points and 28 rebounds to Russell's 14.9 and 24.7 rebounds in the playoffs. So again, Wilt was dominant. He was balling, but just couldn't get the W. Most say that Wilt was a great player, but Russell did more to elevate his team. Chamberlain said that Russell could afford to not score as much because he had more help on offense, but that he had to score or his team wouldn't even be competitive. Again, that was why Russell could focus on defense, because he didn't have to do all the scoring. Notably, Wilt only averaged 24 points a game and 14 points a game the 2 years that he did win rings. After the 1969 finals, where Bill Russell talked about Wilt playing up his injury, the two actually did not speak for 20 years after they had spent years as friends off the court. They didn't speak for 20 years, and they only had the hatchet buried after Bill Russell reached out to him. Bill Russell was actually the second person that Wilt Chamberlain's nephew notified after he passed, and that was per Wilt's instructions. So they did make up. And if I'm not mistaken, Bill Russell was one of the people that told Kobe and Shaq that they needed to make up. Chamberlain is, again, criticized for not winning rings, but all of his contemporaries of the time feared him. Bill Russell said he always feared being embarrassed by him. Walt Frazier called his dominance comical. And Bob Lanier, who was 6'11", 250 during his playing time, was asked about the most memorable moment of his career. And he said it was when Wilt picked him up and moved him like a coffee cup so he could get a more favorable position. And I know I've been talking about Wilt for a while, but he is one of my favorite players ever. So some additional facts about Wilt. His number 13 is retired by the Warriors, 76ers, Lakers, the University of Kansas, and the Harlem Globetrotters. He had a 50-inch vertical, which is ridiculous when you think about how tall he is, and could dunk from the free throw line off of one step. He actually did this when he would go put to the free throw line in college, and that move was quickly banned by the NCAA and the NBA. He was the first player to earn $100,000 a year. He actually earned $1.5 million in his later years with the Lakers, which was unprecedented at the time. He had a mansion in Bel Air that was described as a mini Playboy mansion. and was worth $25 million at the time of his death. You can read more about that estate elsewhere. Though he was a notorious womanizer who hit, quote, on everything that moved, he was always respectful about it, according to the ladies. Although some people said that he would be with one woman and like on a date and like see some other woman and like get up from the table and go talk to her. So not respectful in a dating sense, but he like wasn't like a rapist or anything like that. It wasn't aggressive with the ladies when it came time to it. Shortly before he died, after discussing his 20,000 women note that he believed he'd slept with, he said that men should not admire him for that. He said having one woman 1,000 times is much more satisfying than having 1,000 women one time. Though he never wanted to marry or came close to marrying, and he never wanted to raise any kids. He was actually scheduled to fight Muhammad Ali in 1971, but he backed out because that was the year Ali lost to Frazier, and there was a clause in his contract that said he could back out if Ali had lost that fight. He reportedly broke one player's toe with a dunk in college, which is, again, ridiculous to think about. Like, how hard did he dunk that ball? He blocked a Gus Johnson dunk attempt so hard that he dislocated Gus Johnson's shoulder. Cousy once said that if he had been less concerned with being popular, he would have been meaner and won more titles. So he doesn't put Wilt being lazy or just not winning big games to his woes, but more so the fact that he was too worried about how he appeared to people, which actually made me think about another guy. He played professional volleyball actually after he retired and is in the Volleyball Hall of Fame for the role he played in promoting the sport. He actually remained in great shape pretty much up to the end of his life. He notably embarrassed a rookie Magic Johnson at a practice in '79. Larry Brown said that Wilt had an offer to play for Cleveland in the 80s when he was 45 years old, and then the Nets also tried to sign him in the 80s when he was 50 because he was just in that great a shape still. Records. He's 42nd all-time in playoff points per game, second all-time in career points per game with 30.7, 20th total playoff points, 7th all-time in total points, first all-time in career rebounds per game at 22.9. He has 72 NBA records, 68 of which he holds by himself, so I am definitely not going to go over all of them. Many of his records are considered unbreakable, including the rebounds per game, 22.9, his averaging 50.4 points per game in a season, his 100 points in a game, his 55 rebounds in a game. He scores 65 points or more 15 times, 50 points or more 118 times. He had 63 40-point games in a season, 4 straight 60-point games, 7 straight 50-point games, 14 straight 40-point games, like just ridiculous buckets upon buckets. The only player to average 40 points or 50 points in a season or score more than 100 in a game, of course. The only player to average 30 points and 20 boards in a season, which he did 7 times. He's the only player to grab 2,000 rebounds in a season as well. Throughout his career, he actually averaged 45.8 minutes a game. There were a couple years he averaged more than 48 minutes because of overtime games. They didn't track blocks and steals during his career, but sometimes statisticians would actually keep track of them for fun. One night they say he had 25 blocks. If you want the full list of records and whatnot for Wilt, I will include that when I do the written piece on this. So enjoy. Despite all of his great stats and records, Wilt actually has the third lowest free throw percentage in NBA history at 51.1%. He claimed he missed those on purpose so that teammates could get rebounds and score 2 points instead of 1. Which is almost believable when you consider he missed 50% of his shots from the free throw line, but he also said that it was a mental thing. And the most astounding fact, actually, to me, when you talk about Wilt Chamberlain, He never fouled out of a game in his entire career, despite his quote-unquote rugged play. He averaged about 2 fouls per game for his career. And I think it's just a matter of him being so dominant, he didn't have to be physical on defense to block shots. He would just back away and loom over you. And whenever you went up to put up your shot, he would just swat it away probably. Which is probably why he was such a great shot blocker. He didn't use his body. He waited till you came up and just took the ball away. And since we're here, I put this long as a mug. But one of the other things I found, I mentioned Wilt was on the Warriors before they moved from Philly to San Francisco. And Paul Arizin, who's on this list as well, was on that team. I mentioned that Paul Arizin retired when the team moved to San Francisco. One of the factors that was mentioned was that he didn't want to leave his job at IBM. So I just wanted to drop that on y'all as like a fun anecdote. But that's it for 10 through 6. I think I just spent 25 minutes on Wilt, which is why I'm glad I split this up. Wilt, again, is one of the people who has the longest segment, but I feel like there was a lot to talk about. I hope I didn't bore you with the Wilt Chamberlain talk, but that has been part 4 of the GOAT series. I hope you enjoy. I will be back within a day or two with the top 5. Have a great day and a great night, whenever you're listening to this. Peace.